But let me reintroduce myself. Like Brayden mentioned, I'm basically taking over for LA. It's kind of weird for me because I'm not used to, like, I keep thinking I need to look this way so you guys can see me, but the camera's up there. So I'm Celia, and I'll be basically doing the the last classes now instead of LA because she's going to be focusing on aesthetics. I usually tend to do the Spanish lashing, but you guys have me for now, okay? So we're going to get started. I know last week you guys talked a lot about classic. How you guys feel about that? How was that? Okay, you guys did good on that. Anyone online? How was the classic lashing for you guys?
I mean, it was tough for the first application.
Yeah, and trust me that practice, that's like the main thing when it comes to lashing. Once you start getting the hang of it, you'll see that you'll do it like nothing because it's just having the memory in your wrist and applying. So this week we're going to be talking about volume lashing. The only thing I ask from you guys that with volume lashing, it can get a little bit frustrating because when you're doing the actual fans, they can fall apart on you. They will fall apart on you. But be very patient on that because there's a lot of different things that can cause that, whether it's your tweezers, whether it's the way that you're moving your wrist. So, and that's what we're here for, okay? So let's get started. We're going to be talking about Lashing 101, basically the history of volume lashing, the lash weight, and which lashes to use on what client, and what's considered mega, what's considered, your traditional volume lashing. We're also going to be talking about what no one likes talking about, handmade versus pre-made, and we'll touch a little bit on pro-mades as well. We'll also talk about the adhesives and the different fanning techniques. So who here, does anyone know what volume lashing is? What are volume lashes? Do you guys know? Anyone online as well? You guys can answer. Yeah. So it's basically, you guys learned last week that it's one. So you have a natural lash, it's one classic, right? But from volume lashes, it's anything between 2D or 6D for your traditional volume. Yes, they go higher than that, but right now we're just going to be talking about your traditional volume lashing, which would be anything between 2D to 6D. So a little bit about the history of volume lashes. Russian volume lashes are named after the Russian master lash stylist who invented the technique, Olga, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name. She's basically the one that, Russian volume fans are handcrafted by your lash stylist before being immediately applied to your natural lashes. And your stylist, which is you guys, can create fans in a variety of lengths and curls from 2D to 6D. This week is going to be, I really want you guys to hone in on volume lashing because when you're consulting with a client, it's going to be really important on how much you know, right? Because you're going to have to educate that client on whether or not she can get volume lashes, whether she's a good candidate. Because if it's someone who has brittle lashes, you're not going to do a mega set on her, right? Because you want to make sure you take care of her lashes because that's your money. So you want to make sure that you educate them on that. Any questions so far? Okay. And you guys can see good online?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we measure the depth of a fan in Ds. So basically anything over 2D, right? So 2D would be 2 synthetic lashes, 3D would be 3 synthetic lashes, and so on, so on. Okay. And again, for your traditional volume lashing, you won't go more than 6D. Once you go past 6D, that's already considered a mega set. The heavier the D of your fan, the fuller your lash set will look. A 2D set would be the lightest and 6D would be the heaviest. Okay. So classic versus volume applications. This is really good information to know because this is kind of the key points that you're going to use when you're educating your client on volume lashes versus classic lashing. So what kind of client do you think would want the volume lashing? Like what kind of questions would you ask to see if that's a good candidate or if it's someone that she'll want the volume set?
Like if she prefers natural or like something to look like a strip lash.
Right. And so one good question is, well, how many times a week do you wear strip lashes? Because if you know that they're going to answer 3 times a week, most likely they're going to want a volume set. If they say never, they're going to want a classic set. When about 11 years ago, when I got lashes first done, I paid about $180 and I took them off that same night. Because back then they were using the 0.20s and 0.25s. They weren't using what they're using now, right? So it was heavier, it was harder. I didn't like it. I never wore strip lashes. So for someone to come in and just put that on me, I was like, I'm never doing lashes again. And that's why lashing, sometimes the extensions have a bad reputation, because you have a lot of lash artists who just throw whatever on a client. They don't really analyze the eye. They don't see if it's, they don't ask them questions to know more about them, to make sure that it's something that they're going to like. So for me, I never got my lashes done until years later, like probably the last 3-4 years. Why? Because I paid that much, I didn't like it, and it was done. Never followed up on me, never asked me how I was doing. When I got my lashes done, there was never a consultation. Just, oh, you want lashes volume? Okay, done. So it's really important that you do the consultation and that you know your client. Now, talking about the reputation of the volume sets and the reputation that it has right now, you do want to educate the client that they really are safe, right? Because we analyze their eye and we could determine whether or not they're a good candidate. If they have brittle lashes, you can still put volume. You'll just do 2D or 3D, right? Or however you see their lashes, that's what you're going to go ahead and apply. And they can be lightweight. I do recommend. There's a lot of brands out there, and they're like basically recycled brands, right? Because I can go to Alibaba, buy something, put my name on it, and then you can go buy the same thing and put your name on it, and it's technically the same thing. So there's a lot of recycled brands out there. So you really want to be careful on what you're purchasing. And at the beginning, you're going to use, more affordable brands, because you're learning the techniques and you don't want to be wasting your material. You don't want to waste glue, adhesive, because you don't have that many clients, all that good stuff. But once you really start lashing and really get in there, you want to invest more, because you want to be able to provide your clients with good supplies, good materials, so that it could be lightweight, right? It also allows the volume also allows a lash artist to charge more for services. Now I'm gonna jump a little bit here in regards to the pre-lashes and charging and all that stuff. Me personally, I'll be honest, I have nothing against people using the pre-mates. I don't have nothing against that. I think the problem is when you're charging $300-$400 and you're not actually doing the real work, because technically that's almost like a classic, because they're already coming in, you're not actually fanning them right there, right? And it's kind of like one of those things where you're going to shop around. If I need a plumber at my house, I'm going to shop around. I can't pay $1,000 for a plumber when someone's charging me $500. I'm probably going to go with that $500. Real talk. Let's be honest, right? But I have to also be aware that it's maybe not going to be the same work. So kind of comparing, if you use pre-mades, you're going to charge a little bit less, because you're technically not doing the work and the retention's not going to be there. You know what I mean? But everyone wants a service. Everyone wants pretty lashes. So, it's, for me, I don't have anything against anyone using pre-mades. Some people, their wrist hurts more or whatever the situation is. It's just, I think the line comes where you're charging $300-$400 for a set that really, it's not a handmade set. So let's talk a little bit about classic, volume, and hybrid. I know we get asked this question a lot on how come we go from classic to volume and not classic to hybrid as far as teaching. Well, next week we'll teach hybrid, but the reason why we teach volume on the second week is because in order to do the hybrid, you need to learn how to already know how to do the volume. So what is a hybrid? Basically, a hybrid is going to be a mix of the classic and the volume. So you'll do one volume, one classic, one volume, one classic. Now, here at 3D Lash and Brow, our goal is to teach you the main techniques, right? Is to basically give you the platform. But you're running your business, and you have to make the executive decision that if you get a client and she has a couple gaps, it's okay to do classic, volume, right? You have to, as an artist, you need to make that decision. We can't, I've had students who's like, well, that's not what you said the hybrid is. You said the hybrid is 1, 1, 1, 1. Right. But if you get a client who has a gap, it's okay to break that rule a little bit. The main goal of getting licensed and all that stuff is learning the right way how to do stuff. But as an artist, you're going to have to maneuver a little bit with that client and kind of make, executive decisions. You're running your business. And my goal personally is also to make sure that you leave here with confidence, knowing that you can make those decisions and they're okay decisions. You have the confidence to say, I know I did that right. I would rather you do that than, you have a client who has really brittle lashes and you're just going full blown mega volume or attaching them to the lash line where she ends up with her eye swollen. You know what I mean? So that's basically the difference between classic, volume, and hybrid. Any questions on that before we keep going? Am I going too fast? I talk real fast, sorry guys. But if I'm going too fast, just let me know. The presentation is on Google Classroom. So if you guys need to reference it later, you're more than welcome to do that. So let's talk about the lash weight. So the lash weight. Now, does anyone know usually what we use a 0.03 on what kind of volume lashes? Anybody? Yeah, Mika? You look like you know this stuff. No? So usually the 0.3 are going to be your lighter lashes. 0.7s are going to be your thicker lashes. And I know that if you guys look at your kids, you'll have some 0.15s in there, which is what's used, like what you guys used last week for the classic. 0.3 is when you can start going into the mega and using anything between 70 and up, maxing out at 25. You have your 0.5s and you have your 0.6 and you have your 0.7s. That's what we use for the traditional volume lashing. Okay. 0.06, no one really uses those. So it's the 0.05 and the 0.07. And we'll go down here. So this basically is going to show you a little chart. The pink part is what the natural lash line is. So if you see that it's a 0.20, the top one is going to show you, okay, well, if you use a 0.7, you can use 3.7s, which is going to equal to the 0.21. So it's going to be similar to the 0.20. Does that make sense? So when we go further down, now I'm academically challenged when it comes to detailed numbers like this, and you'll see the next slide, it'll breaks it down a little bit more. In my head, the way I think, I just need to know my max. So I know if I use a 0.3, I can't go more than 25. Do I expect you to sit there and count each little fan? No. But you have to at least kind of have that idea, because you don't want to be sticking a 30 in a lash and it overweighing the natural lash. Same thing with the 0.5. The idea is about 9Ds, 0.6, the max is 60, and so on. Okay?
25 being like 25 individual
That-
hairs.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because they're going to be more thin. So it's going to be, when you see the 0.3s, they're really, and a lot of the times, that's why a lot of people go heavy with the mega, because they're just easier to fan. Because you're just grabbing a whole bunch and they're easier to fan. And what we're going to go through a demonstration here on how to do a volume. The only thing I do ask from you guys that it's banned from here from 3D Lash and Brow is to not use the pinch method out there. Do you guys know why we don't do the pinch method?
Is it like sanitary?
Yeah. So if let's say you grab it and you pinch it, you're basically taking your dead skin cell and putting it on someone's eye, right? And I know there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that's what the technique that they use, but that's why we tell you to use the bloom ring, like the I forget what they're called, but the little rings with the little edges on them, so you can just slide it through there. Okay.
Would that be against TDMR though, the pinching method?
Yeah, from my understanding, yes. Because even when you do the state board, you can't pinch. Yeah. And so 0.7s, 40. So this week, for the sake of volume, do you do the pinch method?
Well,
Or
that's
you
how
said-
I had took a lashing course, and that's how I was taught. And that's how my lash girl does my lashes. I mean, not saying her name. That's
Yeah, no, you're
you know,
fine.
like,
Yeah.
she does the pinching method on Instagram. That's the only way I've seen people do it is pinching. So I tried doing the little on the little sticky part. you know?
The dot thing, I forget what they're called.
I don't like
The pink
that.
dots. I don't either.
That made me like uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, honestly, I like lashing on the strip. I pull it out, put it on the side, and just do the little bounce, how they kind of edge it
Mhm.
out. That's the way I do it. And I do use the glue ring with the little edges on it. When I first started too, sometimes when I first started, that's how I was shown too, by doing the
Mhm.
pinching. And sometimes I'll catch myself even when I'm lashing, I'm like, and you know what I mean? And I take,
I
because
understand like the
Yeah.
bruising, but it's just like
it's a habit. Yeah. But that's what's gonna put you out there and bring you out more, because now that's something that you can sell yourself. You can use that, like, hey, pinching method, that's not the way to do it. You know what I mean? This is the way to do it. And I always tell the students that I appreciate that you guys, if whether you were certified before, the fact that now you're taking the opportunity to get licensed, and it shows me that one, you're trying to be a brand, you're trying to be a business, you're trying to do it legal, and you're trying to educate. So off the back, you know that whether you decide to be an educator or just keep lashing, you can charge more. You know what I mean? So that's but yeah, don't like, we're not gonna arrest you if you were lashing before. I mean, we know the industry and we know that that's out there. But keep in mind that there was this young girl who had asked me a while back if I can train her, and I had told her, go get licensed. And you'd be surprised how many people in Texas don't even realize you have to be licensed. A lot of the ones that are certified think that they're okay doing it certified. Why? Because whoever's teaching them to give them the certification doesn't get that detailed with them. Why? Because they're charging and they want to charge to train you. So they're not going to sit there and go, well, but you really have to be licensed, but I'll go ahead and, they're not going to tell them that. Is, hey, I'll go ahead and train you. I'll give you the certification and we're done. You know what I mean? So you'd be surprised how many young girls out there are not familiar with the fact that you have to be licensed. So this, you guys can look at this later on at your own free time. This basically, it's a little bit cut off on the right side. It's cut off, but the first section, it's 7. The second one is 5, and the last one is 3. So this just basically says if you use a 0.15, you could use 4 of the 0.7s, and so on, so on. So this is just a little diagram that you guys can look at to kind of give you an idea how many 0.3s or 0.5s or 0.7s you can use to equal a 0.10, 0.12, 0.15. This one right here, the weight visuals, is going to tell you what's considered mega volume, volume classic. This is always nice to have. You guys can always just take a screenshot of this and keep it for your reference if you need to follow back up. The 0.20s, 0.25s, and 0.30s, those, they really, no one's really selling those no more. We don't really lash with those at all. That's what they used to use years back before, they started coming out with newer stuff. And then you can see the classics. It's a 0.10, 0.12, 0.15, 0.18. Some people use 0.10s as a volume using 2D. I personally don't recommend that. I've spoken to many of my peers here, and we're all on the same page. None of us use the 0.10s for 2Ds. So, 0.12 usually is for the classic, 0.10, and then the volumes 0.7, 0.6, and 0.5. So handmade versus pre-made. So here's the thing with handmade fans. Handmade fans, I think a lot of people get turned off by it because you have to practice a lot. But the fact that you can go out there and say, my volume fans are handmade, it makes you proud of your work, right? And you can charge more. It has better retention because the lashes will wrap better. And it's cheaper than buying pre-made fans for sure. Okay. When you buying the trays for volume lashes, depending if you do the mixed tray or not, you're going to have for a good amount of clients. When you do the pre-mades, they basically just buy 5Ds. Let's say example, 5Ds, 8mm, 10mm, blah, blah, and so on. The problem with that is if you are lashing and you run into a client that at that moment, she might have a brittle lash, you're going to be like, okay, I need to find one that matches. I need to find a 2D. Where can I find a 2D? And you're just going to end up overwhelming yourself with pre-mades. It's good to have them as backup, but as far like you're going to end up with a drawer full of a whole bunch of different types of pre-mades because you're going to want 2Ds, 3Ds, 5Ds, 10Ds, because you're going to be thinking in your head, I need to make sure I can accommodate whatever type of client comes in. Versus if you're doing the handmaids, you can just do it right there and then. I need a 2D. Let me just do it real quick. So again, all I ask is for patience, because even if you leave here and you decide that you want to use pre-mades, it's a skill that you have. Like when COVID happened, a lot of people were freaking out because they didn't have the pre-mades and they were using them because we weren't getting materials like we should. So a lot of people had to learn how to do the handmaids. Okay. So pre-made fans, they're created in a factory. You could either get them bonded at the base with adhesive or heat. The more known brands like Lost Artistry, Lash Affair, all those high brands, they tend to use the heat effect, right? But with the ones that are with the adhesive, those are going to be your cheaper brands, smaller companies, probably from Etsy. I don't like those personally. I wouldn't use those. If you say you're going to use pre-mades, I wouldn't use the ones with adhesive because all you're doing is double dipping even more. And you're going to get even more glue and it's going to look thicker and you're going to have even less retention on those. Pre-mades are easier to apply and they are expensive for a lash artist. It does help you save time. I've seen girls where their books are full and they'll slowly transition into pre-mades only so that they can get more clients in and get them out faster. They'll do half and half. It just depends, because once you start lashing and you start knowing how to do layers, some people, they'll use the bottom layer with pre-mades just to get those out the way to give a darker lash line, and then they'll use their handmades for the top layers. Okay, so it just varies, and you will have less retention on them.
Pre-mades are the ones that they come like in a little like box, right?
Already fanned
Take
out.
them out like that. Oh.
And so it gets confusing because you have pre-mades and pro-mades.
Mhm.
Pro-mades are the ones you do ahead of time. So let's say you have 3 clients today. Last night you were spending time doing all the pro-mades. I personally am conflicted with that because I've seen girls where they'll buy like those little medicine cube things where they put medicines and put their lashes in there. It's just not that sanitary, because you grab a whole bunch of lashes, put them in there, you start lashing with the same tweezer, you're grabbing more, and then that's for another client later on. So you just, unsanitize your lashes basically. So if you do that, that's fine, that's great. Just when you're grabbing lashes, change your tweezers. You know what I mean? So grab lashes, put them down, put those tweezers down, and then whatever you're going to use for your client, start lashing with that. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. But hey, you make them ahead of time. It helps you cut time. If you don't want to use the pre-mades, that's your best way of doing the pro-mades. Mostly here, when you start taking clients, to just have them already ready, spend the night before or a couple days before, doing your pro-mades. Let's see. Easy fanning lashes. Have you guys heard of easy fanning lashes? No. So easy fanning is like what we call training wheels before you start doing the volume lashes. Basically what it is when you pull them off the strip, they fan for you. I don't mind if you guys use that because it's going to give you the training wheels, but I wouldn't stick to it. If you're someone who, you want to go ahead and just start with that, or if you just like jumping the ball and just, hey, which I recommend, just start doing volume so that you don't get handicapped by doing the easy fanning and get stuck there, then by all means do that. You know what I mean? You have a question? Yeah, you. Oh, you look like you had a question. I'm sorry. Okay. They don't tend to have the same retention because, just for an example, let me see if I have one. I don't have any, but just so I can pull this out so you can have an idea. So this is a strip, and I don't use this on clients. These are all for practicing. So this is a strip. The Easy Fan would have like a little light sticky glue down here. So that's the reason why they have less retention too. And the reason why they have like a little sticky glue down here is because when you pull them out, they automatically fan for you because they stay together at the base. Okay. So that's out there too, just the easy fanning lashes. So you have pre-mades, pro-mades, and the easy fanning lashes. So this slide right here just basically shows you the wrapping of the natural lash. I don't like this picture too much because that just shows what? Do you guys know what I see there? Can you guys tell? Anyone online? Can you guys tell what that picture's showing me? So it has a lot of adhesive. And that's one of the things when you're on the floor, we're going to be looking at that. You can see where the picture right here, it shows that it has adhesive, like a bulk of it right around here. So here's the thing, when you're doing volume lashes, you don't want to go too deep in. With classics, we teach you to go a little bit more in, right? But with volume, you don't, because what's going to happen is your fan's going to close. It's when you might hear that term where they say they'll wick, the lashes will wick. It's because they'll close. When you dip the volume lashes into the glue and you pull it out of the dome, the glue's still going to seep up. So you always want to make sure that you know that when it seeps, it doesn't go too high up, because if not, it's going to close your fan. That's kind of how they also do. Some people do the wispies. How you do the wispies at the lashes close. You dip it like a classic, and then the lash close. Any questions on that? No? So wrapping of the natural lash. So the one that says no, that's just basically showing you how the lashes, like if you use pre-mades or anything like that, how it's not going to wrap all the way. So this is the natural lash. And you see these gaps here, that's where it can start getting infected, or that's where they can get bacteria. So you want to make sure that it looks like this and it's nicely all the way around flushed against the natural lash. What's going to happen here is when they start trying to brush, it's going to get stuck and it's going to hurt them. And they're going to be like, damn, it hurts. So it's going to pull out their natural lash, or they're going to be there for a minute trying to play with it, trying to get it out. So we always want to make sure that it's nicely flushed around the natural lash. So let's talk a little bit about volume adhesive.
Can I take this call? We all are calling you.
Yeah, go ahead, step out. Yeah, you're fine. No, you're fine. They probably don't even know you're in here. It's probably about SEMA. So volume adhesive, there's a lot of adhesives out there now that they're meant for classic and volume lashes, but volume adhesives are thinner in viscosity and have a faster dry time. They contain a higher concentration of cyanacrylate, and usually that you don't want to use them for classic. Classic adhesives, you can use them for volume, but volume, you don't want to use them for classic. The volume, when they're specially made for volume, the adhesive, it's going to have a better retention. And the adhesive amount is really, really important. You guys don't want to end up putting, again, the whole lash in there in order to create a fan. It's going to close on you. If it has too much and it doesn't dry within time, when you release it, it's going to fall right or left or however, okay? So right here's where we're going to start creating fans. Any questions so far? Nope. So let me see. Guys, I told you that I'm not tech savvy, so I'm going to try to put this camera. Let's see how he did this. If I lose you guys, I apologize. I'll get back on, okay? I'm going to try to lower this camera so I can get you guys to see.
Well, they have some like that there. Is that food? Yeah, no, trying to talk to their son.
A lot. They have migas, breakfast. They have a lot of stuff. Yes.
It's like your mom's kitchen.
Yeah. I found that like last week and I went crazy. Nachos, tortillas, everything.
Yeah, they have
You found it last week.
I found it last week. I didn't know it was there. I know.
Paula something, right?
I don't know what's it called, but they're really nice in there too,
Yeah, it
and you
was
can
really
eat there.
good. I like the smoothie.
Oh, they're good. I haven't tried that.
Yes, the smoothies are like natural fruits, so good.
Yeah.
They have like juicing.
They have juice, yeah, the fresh juice. You didn't know? People calling me out.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, maybe. So everyone can take out, you could take out some volume lashes. You can do it with me or just watch me for now. But you can, if you don't have your manicure or anything, you could do it on a sponge. Because one of the homeworks is to do 50 volume fans on a sponge. Talking about the homework really quick, guys. If your fans are falling apart and you could stick them on the sponge, do it. The intent here, I don't want to see perfect fans. That's not, I trust me, I've gone through the schooling with you guys. I completely understand. What I want to see is just you doing the attempt of putting the lash fans on a sponge. So they're, you know what I mean? And just making sure that they come out somewhat, and try not to do more than like 6 Ds.
Do you have sponges? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. No.
So I don't have sponge. I can get you one in a little bit. That what? I don't know if they come in the kit.
Do we do lash lips?
We do, but we don't. You won't get taught that. Only aesthetics does that.
Okay. Are you from New York?
Yes.
I like your accent.
Thank you. Yeah, but we don't do that. I can get you some sponges in a little bit. I can try to find some.
Why does it sound like Jennifer Lopez?
Can you guys see pretty good online? I'll try to get a little closer.
No wonder Chloe was crying, girl. You were so good.
I'm gonna try to put it a little closer because I know that looks a little far.
Miss Celia, are you and Miss Monica both going to be grading us, or are you assigned to a specific group of students?
Yeah, we'll both be grading. It just depends who gets to who first, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you email too, it goes to both of us.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions, but I'm not sure when is a good time. As far
Uh,
as like,
go
okay.
ahead. What's it in regards to?
Well, adhesive first, I just wanted to know like if you get any stickies to where maybe the top lash stick to the bottom lash, what's the best way to release it? Do you just use the remover?
So it's just gonna depend. The first step that you would want to do is just try to see if you can kind of, sometimes when you, let me see if you can see this. Sometimes when you take the tweezer, let's say there's bottom lashes here. Sometimes if you release it in between, open your tweezer just a little bit and release pressure, they'll open up without it hurting the client. You can also try the banana peel method if it's slightly done. If it's, I try my best not to use the remover, because when you use the remover, it can get on the lashes that's next to it, unless you try to use iPads and kind of isolate it on its own. But usually when you just snap in between, or when you do the banana peel, it'll work.
The
Okay.
camera is a little bit too low. We
Too
can
low?
see the edge of the desk. We can't see your hands or anything.
Yeah, hold on. I haven't started yet. Hold on, but I know let me see if I could do it closer. See how close it goes. It's getting there, guys. Hold on. That's as close as it goes. I could try to lift it. Let's see. So I want to show you guys this real quick so you have an idea. Let me switch this. Because remember I was mentioning earlier how tweezers are important. I don't use this on my clients. This is just so that I can show you guys. Just heads up. But this, all the different types of tweezers. If you're going to invest in something, invest in tweezers first. We provide you with the basic ones. But if you're noticing that, okay, my fans I'm having trouble, go ahead and invest in a pair of tweezers. Like, you have different ones. You have the boot. You have straight tweezers. That's not good for volume. But you see all the different ones, because one of the main things that's important here is your sweet spot. Each tweezer is going to have a sweet spot. How can you tell where the sweet spot is? If you look at your tweezer and you hold it like this, I'm sorry, guys, hold on. The camera, I'm trying to show you guys, but the camera. So let me back up for a minute, just so you guys can see this. Grab your tweezers when you buy any tweezers or whatever. When you squeeze the front, this part here, when you squeeze it down and you kind of put it in front of you and you look this way, if you see a gap, you're not going to have a sweet spot there. It should close all the way, because that means it's going to have a good grip. Okay. Some people, what they do is they'll take like a little marker or white out, depending on the color of the tweezer, so it could stand out, so that you can mark your sweet spot. So this way, every time you're going to grab lashes, you grab it in your sweet spot when you're about to pull. Does that make sense? So yeah, so just make sure, because you have so many different types of tweezers that it just depends. Like these right here are really, really thin. And then you have, like I mentioned earlier, the boot. You have cranes. I don't think I have a crane. But this is my favorite one to lash, this one or the boot. This one. And they're both by different brands. So that just shows you that, different brands can give you, different things for you to like. All right. Then I'll get close again on this. And you want to make sure you shake your adhesive good. You want to make sure the cyanacrylate, because remember, when you let your glue sit, it separates. So always give it a good shake.
So should we be placing our adhesive there on that or on the clear crystal?
However you want to do it. For practice purposes, however you want to do it. We tend to tell you to do it on the crystal, so when you're actually on the floor, when you start taking clients, it's a habit you've created. But if you use the clear crystal, I always still, regardless, recommend to put some tape. Don't put the glue just on the crystal, because it's just going to be harder to take off and it's not going to last as long. If you put it on a tape, and you can, I don't know, so like, let's say let's say this is my crystal, but this is the jade stone. Just put a couple pieces like this all the way around. And this way too, you know when to stop at a checkpoint. So I've had this for 15, 20 minutes. That's no good. Now I'm going to go to my next one. That's going to give you an opportunity to spot check your work, check if you got any stickies and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I just do it here just so that I could teach you guys real quick, like the, you know, the volume lashing. But once you start doing it, it's however you feel more comfortable. And I can say this because it still happens to me when I do it. Anytime my first client of the day, my hands are always kind of shaky. It's the caffeine. I have, you know, my arthritis is kicking in, so I have to like massage my arms. So anytime you have your first artist, your first client, you're always gonna feel like a little bit like, ah. Once you get that first person in, that's it. You're done. You're gonna go all through it without a problem. Okay. So can you guys see this? A little bit. That's as close as I can get. That's as close as I can get.
Yeah, we can see the lashes and the adhesive.
Perfect.
Just want to be able to make sure that we see your hands and how you're fanning out the lash.
Yeah. If you can't see, just stop me, okay? So it'll be right here. Let me put this up here so that I can be closer. So when you do your lashing, you want to give it, when you do your volumes, just give it a little brush, a little swipe, okay? And when you grab them, you're going to grab your tweezers this way, just like, oh. So let me back it up for right now so you guys can see. You're going to grab your tweezers just like this. You're still going to have these 3 fingers here, okay? And your thumb here. This one, you want to keep it low so that you can put pressure when you're going to open and close. Okay. Now, there's different ways of doing volume. You have the shimmy. You have the way I do it. So you just pull a couple out. Right. So you're going to use this back part. This back part. You're going to use this part to kind of go through the lashes. You see it? And when you're ready, you're going to grab them and pull them towards you and then lay them down. Let me get a little closer so that you can see. I think that's as close as it gets. I thought it got closer earlier.
Look at the glue ring.
Yeah, you can ask one of them. Let me see. He's looking at me. You want one too? Yeah? Okay. Wait, hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. Let me just finish this with the online class. So when you do this, you can just, did you guys see how I picked it up? Because I can do this with you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'd rather focus on the online real quick. Did you guys see how I picked that up real quick? So when I pick it up, I use the back part, pull it towards me, lay it down. And when I lay it down, I use the point of the tweezer to just kind of go back side to side. And then you're going to slide it back in and pull it towards you that way. So it's like a 2D, 3D. Now, if it opens up a little bit at the bottom, it's okay. You can dip it in the glue. And if you have a ring or the J-stone, you could kind of like tap it down. Tap it side to side. Does that make sense? Let's see.
Yes.
Towards you. That one I didn't fan it out too much. I'm trying to see if you guys can see. Then there's some people who actually do it. So there's some people who they'll take the lashes, pull them kind of like halfway, but still leave them there, and then fan them out from there, and then go right behind and pull them out that way. So you can do it that way too. And then dip it in the glue. And remember, when you dip it, you don't want to dip it all the way in, just a little bit. And now when you hold it, I don't have like a lash to put it on, but when you hold it, you want to hold it for about 6 seconds. And you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I release too soon, it can fall. the fan could break apart on me. So you want to be, when you're going to put it, and you have to make sure that you're getting it flush with the natural lash. So depending how the natural lash is, you want to make sure that when you're putting the fan, that your wrist is where it needs to be. So your wrist, you have, when you put it on, so let's make believe this fan that I put here is one extension. So I'm fanning. And I pull it. Remember your sweet spot. So I'm gonna lay just flush, just like that, and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and let it go. If you see that it leans a little bit to the right or left with your tweezers, you can just kind of hold it a little longer. This is going to tell you if you need glasses or not. I use glasses. I have to use glasses because if not, I'll start getting a headache and I can't see. And I have contacts on. So just so you can see it. I'm very blind, guys. But this is going to help you determine whether or not the glasses are going to, if you see that you're struggling seeing, because guys, don't push your eyesight. If you see that you're struggling and you're having to go like this and it's getting blurry, just go get yourself some reading glasses. CVS has them and they're like, you can buy them for like $15 and you can start off with the 1.75 and see how that works. Now with reading glasses, let me tell you this real quick. With reading glasses, the stronger, I don't know how to say it in English, the stronger the la menta.
Oh, no.
The lens, I guess. Yeah, the longer, but it's not prescription because they're reading glasses. So the longer the lens, I guess, the stronger the lens, you would get closer. So if you end up buying reading glasses, that's like a 3.75, you have to kind of determine how close you're going to be to the client. Like these are 2.0, I could be like right here to my client, right? But if you're going to do a 3.something, 3.0, you got to be closer. So what I would recommend, oh wait, you guys can't see me. Sorry, guys. You guys have to remind me a little bit. So these reading glasses, I was telling the ladies here. So these reading glasses, the stronger they are, the closer you're going to have to be like this. So I would recommend, if anything, take like a little palette, take a couple lashes, whatever, to CVS or Walgreens, wherever. And when you're there, put some glasses on, try them out, and just go like that so you can see if you see good or not. Okay? That's going to at least help you decide whether or not you need glasses if you're straining your vision, because that's what we don't want. Being a lash artist, you want to make sure you're taking care of the way you're positioning yourself when you're lashing, and you also want to take care of your eyesight. Any questions before we end the day? So I know you guys have some practices. Let me see. So we do want to make sure we stay away from the pinching method. And I know you have to practice on some of your sponges. Do we have any questions?
You show me the method again.
Yeah. My online girls, do you guys have any questions before we disconnect?
No.
And you guys can always go back and look at the video. I'm always very open about this. You guys have Miss Monica or Miss Ela's not teaching the Spanish. Miss Ela's not teaching the lashing, but Monica does a PN one. So sometimes students learn from different instructors, and if you feel like you want to just glance at that one just to see how she does it, you're more than welcome to do that. I mean, I don't get offended at all. But if you have any questions, please let me know. If you need me to show you that again, let me know as well, okay?
So for our assignments in Google Classroom, is that going to be posted today for week 2 so we know what to do for week 2, or is it all in SEMA and practicals?
No, so I'll go ahead and I'll post it. You shouldn't be working just yet in SEMA from my understanding. But let me double check, because again, this is when I teach the Spanish, we don't have access yet to online stuff. Everything's done in class like this. So let me double check, and as soon as I get the green light to post, if I have to post it, I'll go ahead and do it for you guys, okay? As soon as I'm done here, I'll step out and find out how to post that for you guys for the practicals.
Okay, because we got access to SEMA on June 14th, so I've been working on a lot of the chapters in there.
Oh, okay, then you're fine, because I know some students still were struggling getting access, so that's why I'm not too sure. But if you have access and it's working fine for you, keep on trucking. And
Okay.
then,
I've just been focusing more on SEMA and a little bit of the practicals because I haven't seen a lot of like the Google assignments.
so I can tell you this, just so that if you want to just start on something, just work on volume fans on a sponge, on a piece of paper or something like that.
Okay.
And just record yourself doing it, okay? At least so that you're not just in limbo waiting for something, and then as soon as I leave here, I can find out what's going on, or finish working in SEMA.
Does
Okay?
everything need to be recordings or can they be pictures?
No, everything has to be recording. We have to show that you're doing it. You have
Okay.
to, record yourself doing it.
Okay.
All right? If no one has anything else, then I'll go ahead and disconnect the class, and it was nice meeting everyone.
I have a question.